Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another day of Veda. Today's video is going to be kind of more low-key, more discussion video-y. Discussion video-y. We're going to talk about something that I've heard a lot of content creators and book friends talk about lately, and I want to talk about it. So we're going to be talking about open endings, or books that is more your interpretation of what is happening. Obviously, literary fiction is very much so character driven and can be written in such a way that it's more like your interpretation of events, or the character's interpretation of events that are happening. It's not an elaborate story. That sounds very wrong, because I love literary fiction. It takes a lot of brain power for me to read a literary fiction book, because it's more complex. It can be more complex than like my thrillers or rom-coms or even spicy romance. But I still very much so enjoy literary fiction. I just don't read it as often as I read other things like romance or thrillers. I hope that makes sense. But I have 6 books that I want to recommend if you are like me and you like open endings, or books in which you're very much confused and you're not entirely sure what's going on until things start coming together. But more importantly, like, they don't always come together. So I know that a lot of readers read for escape. Obviously, we all do. But I know that generally, I'm not speaking for everyone, but generally the consensus is that you need a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it gets all wrapped up in a bow and everything is just perfect. I'm not going to say I don't like those books, because I do. I read those books and I thoroughly enjoy them. But sometimes it's nice to read a book where you're expecting a nice little bow and you get, what the heck am I reading? Or what does that mean for the ending? Those are the type of books that break me. Those are the type of books that I remember. Those are the books that I personally love. I know that there are a lot of people that either love it or hate it. I am definitely a lover, and I'm gonna stay in my lane. That being said, though, mild spoilers ahead, because obviously if I'm recommending this book, it's either gonna make you super confused throughout the book, or it's going to have an open ending. I tried not to count series. There are 2 exceptions to that rule, and it's only because, I'll explain when I get there why it's on this list, even if it's part of a series. Well, that'll make it better. I'm gonna start, I think, with some literary fiction books that are just kind of like take a lot of brain power to read, and I full-heartedly love these books. They made me super emotional, but for part, if not all of the story, I don't want to say confused, because I think the confusion is part of the story that makes it so good. But I didn't know what to believe. You don't know what's going on. And that's kind of part of the magic of this particular set of books. So for the first book, this is about parenthood. This is The Push by Ashley Audrain. This is about parenthood, but like to the extreme. There's a child that has violent outbursts, or you're led to believe that there's a child that has violent outbursts, and there's like what's going on with the mom, which I think her name is Susan, but I don't know. Violet. Blith. I don't know where I got Susan from. Blith is a new mom, and she's very much going through postpartum, potentially. But you're so confused because there's stuff that's going on with the child, but then there's stuff that's going on with the mom, and then you don't know really which one is true, or if they're both true, then how. And there are so many questions with this book, but I full-heartedly loved it. And I think it would be really cool to read now that I'm a mother, and to see if I can relate to it in a different way. Then we have Happiness Falls by Angie Kim and Miracle Creek by Angie Kim. You have no idea what's going on in either of these. In Miracle Creek, you follow this small town that has started this experimental treatment for kids who have autism. And inside the book, there's like protesters that are like, well, your child was born this way, you shouldn't want to fix them, they're not broken. And then there's other people that are like, well, no, it's a medical concern, they're just trying to help their child. And there's like that fighting going on. But then at this experimental place, there's a fire, and there were patients in there at the time, and one of the little boys that was at the facility died. And you're following the trial afterward, and you get bits and pieces from each witness that comes forward until it kind of all comes together. And this one does come together more with a bow, but for the entire ride, you have no idea what's going on and who to believe. And I love this. I know that some people have said that especially Miracle Creek is very repetitive, and I can see that because each day in the courtroom is a different witness, and they're telling their version of events, and you know, a lot of it is the same as the person before them. So I can understand that. I personally didn't hate it, especially because it's a courtroom thriller, so you kind of expect that, or at least I do. But then Happiness Falls by Angie Kim. This one is about a dad that goes missing, and everything is pointing to one person. And I did not want to believe it because that like ruined me. I can't really tell you much more than that. It's a family, I don't want to say it's a family drama. It's a family mystery about this dad that goes missing. And each character and each day you get like a tiny bit more information until you finally figure out what happened to this dad. So you do get answers, but I don't know if they're the answers you want. I definitely believed I knew what had happened in both of these, and I have to say I was absolutely wrong in both Angie Kim books. And then the last one is Fredrik Backman. This is Anxious People. I've heard that this literary fiction by Fredrik Backman is way different than the rest of his books, and I've never read anything. That's not true. I read My Grandmother Told Me to Tell You I'm Sorry, or to tell you she's sorry. And that was fine. But this one hit so different. This is Anxious People. I can't really tell you what it's about without spoiling everything. It's about a bank robbery that doesn't happen and a hostage situation in which you know nothing. And I know that does not help you at all, but the emotions in this one, the heaviness that I felt reading this, and the emptiness that I felt. So it was like heavy, but it was so empty. I don't know if that makes sense. There's that. Then we have a stack right here. This last stack are all different kinds of books, all different genres, but they don't necessarily wrap everything up in a great bow. So, if you don't want spoilers for that part, then I understand, and I had a great time with you. If you don't care, if you want more books like this, that don't wrap everything up super well, that maybe leave you guessing at the end, then stick around. The first one is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. Now, some of you are going to disagree with me on this one, but I feel like it ends abruptly after the grand gesture. And, like, I know what I think is going to happen, and I know what I want to happen, and I can tell you how Lucy's feeling and how Aiden's feeling, and I can tell, you know, what's going on in their minds because I just read it, but you don't know for sure. It's like grand gesture, something happens after that grand gesture, and then bye. There's no epilogue, which actually, it sounds like I'm complaining that there's no epilogue, but I am actually not complaining. There is an epilogue. We're gonna delete this entire part, Alita. Okay. So, the first book shouldn't really be on this list because there's actually another in the series now, but let me just talk about it. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a classic, and I'm not a classic girl. I don't want to say I hate reading classics, but I don't read them enough. I don't often read them, and when I do, I just usually find them mediocre. However, To Kill a Mockingbird became my best character trait last year. So I read it because it is my brother-in-law's favorite book. So he gifted me a copy. I read it, sobbed, loved it. But here's the thing, in the end of this, you follow Scout, and she is this really awesome young girl who doesn't understand the hate in the world because her dad is a lawyer and he's defending a black man, and I think it takes place in the South, and it's also, you know, a black man in the South in the 50s, I believe, in the 1950s. Anyways, that was unheard of. And Scout's brother and Scout get into this altercation towards the end of the book, and you never really know for sure what happened to Scout's brother. Pause, because I know that now there is another book in this series. There is Go Set a Watchman. And that is the next in this series. But this was a standalone for 40 years, I believe. The Go Set a Watchman didn't come out until semi-recently, in the 2000s. Maybe 2010s. But I believe that this was supposed to be a standalone. I have no interest in going to the next book in the series because I don't want it to get wrapped up with a little bow. I want it to be an open ending of like, oh my god, what happened to Scout's brother? Like, what happened to him? And I know that many people are going to disagree with me on this. Do I at all want to get it wrapped up in a bow? Kinda, because it would help my breaking heart when I read this book. But I like the not knowing. There's something so phenomenal about not knowing. Then, Not Knowing is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This follows Win and Eric and Andrew. And they are going camping in like this cabin when this man approaches Win, the little girl. And then it kind of becomes a home invasion type thing because it's like the 4 horsemen are there saying, hey, you have to make this decision. Let us in, let us in, let us in. And, you know, they're trying not to let them in and trying to survive. And the ambiguity, I don't think I'm saying that word correctly, but the ambiguity, the open-endedness of this, first off, the ending, heartbreaking, sobbing mess. And I know it's a horror novel, but I was sobbing, like not one little tear, just like snot coming out my nose. I was just like, ooh, it was wonderful. I loved it. But you don't entirely get your answers. You don't know what happened after the heartbreak. Like, after that heartbreaking, heart-wrenching ending, you don't know. And I think that's one thing that is so awesome about this. Because it's so heartbreaking. Because you don't know if that actually saved everyone else. You're just left wondering. That's the greatness of this book. The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. Love this story. This is Jonah and Calla's love story. But more than that, it's like Calla finding herself and getting that ending with her father, because her and her father were not close anymore, and she went to Alaska to be with him at his deathbed. And while she was there, she met Jonah, and their love story was so romantic. But it didn't get wrapped up with a bow. You know that they want to be together. You know that they're gonna try to make it work, but you almost don't get that happy ending in this book. I know. Now this is a series. It's a I think it's a 3-book series with a novella, so a 3.5-book series. I just finished Wild at Heart, which is the next book in the series. I did not. Here's the thing. I liked it, but it did not have the magic, the purity of The Simple Wild. This is has such a special place in my heart. Yeah, it's been a few years since I've read it, but in my mind it's still perfect. The Wild at Heart, it was fine, it was enjoyable, but it didn't have the same oomph that The Simple Wild had. And I believe, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I believe that this was supposed to be like a one and done. It wasn't supposed to be a series, but so many people cried to K.A. Tucker about not having that ending that they so wanted, so she wrote more books in the series. And you can tell. I'd rather it be a one and done. I'm going to pretend the series doesn't exist and it's just a one and done, because one and done, beautiful. Rest of the series, not so much. Then we have The Road by Cormac McCarthy. You don't get any answers in this book. None. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's this boy and a dad who are in apocalypse or post-apocalypse. You never even understand what the apocalypse was or is. You just know you're walking on this road. They're walking on this road. They don't even have names. I don't think I'm supposed to tell you that. But they're just walking, and if they make it to the beach, then everything's magically gonna be better. At least that's what they think. But do they ever make it to the beach? I don't know. Is there some very horrifying things in this? Yeah. I'm also gonna say that the lack of quotation marks is really gonna kill some people. My teacher brain hated it, but I started listening to it on audiobook, and that helped a lot, because I wanted to understand this beautiful book and I wanted to read it, but the lack of quotation marks was hard for me to handle as an educator. And I know it sounds like I'm just nitpicking, but if you're a reader, if you're an educator, you might understand. This was beautiful. It's horrifying because you never get answers. You don't know what the apocalypse is. You don't know why they're walking. You don't know who they are. You don't know anything other than they're walking on this road. And it was haunting, and I cried. I love books that make me cry, that make me feel things. But oh my god, so good. And the last horror novel that has an open ending, I believe. I don't know. Does it have an open ending? Yes. Yeah. The other one that has an open ending is We Spread by Ian Reid. Ian Reid is known to be very thoughtful with his writing and very like, ooh, that was a mind mess. What the heck happened? Love that. I absolutely love it. In We Spread, we follow Penny, who's like my dear grandmother. Like, she felt like my grandma. She's getting older. Her husband died, and she can't live on her own anymore, so she goes to this like retirement home, nursing home, retirement home for the rich. Usually I don't like following rich people, but Penny, she's so much different. And she's talking about getting older and what it's like to lose yourself with your age. And not only that, it's also like messing with your mind, because it's like, well, is this really happening? Is it her age? Is it this new place that she's at? What is going on? And I was completely like, whoa. And the writing in here, Ian Reid, tremendous author. I need to read more from Ian Reid. I actually have Foe on my TBR. But beautiful, haunting, sobbing, snot coming out my nose. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but beautiful, 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 beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know in the comments below how you feel about open endings, if you're a fan, or if you want everything wrapped up in a pretty little bow. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. We're trying to make a video every single day in August.